What if everything you thought, saw, heard, smelled, tasted, or sensed in any way were all true? Well, to the hidden inner mind, it is. All of it. True or true? Imagine that. Hello everybody, I'm Roger Simpson, clinical hypnotist at theflowcenter.com. You can book a free consultation with us at theflowcenter.com or at hypnosisoverthephone.com or at my private number 214-699-6627. You may have heard me or even anyone else mention that one of the aspects of the inner hidden mind is that it accepts things that you imagine, just the same as things that really happen to you. It accepts movies and TV, news, gossip, novels, stories, dreams, daydreams, and stores them with an attached emotion and to itself the correct context, the same as if you saw it with your own eyes or experienced it in person. My wife often says I try to put too much into these little 5 to 7 minute vignettes. My dad, Reverend Bob, told me a story once about a friend of theirs who, for his final discourse in preacher school, seminary as they called it, he gave a 23-point sermon and the poor guy never lived it down. Probably ended up stuck in a church in Kenneportbunk, Illinois, population 47 and a half. I'm getting off the subject. I wanted to come back to that aspect. Our conscious mind is the part of our intelligence that decides and judges reality. It makes those decisions on the truth of things, based on the data coming in from all the senses filtered by other parts of the brain that pre-interpret that data and decide basically what you need to know. And I suppose that that's based on eons of trauma-based memory stored in your junk DNA and a lifetime of other collected data. So you really don't sense or see reality, just your mind's version of reality. And we don't really know that much about our history. After all, the word is his story. Get it? History is just a story, cherry-picked from the facts. All the news you need to know. And when that news that's been cherry-picked with a purpose in mind, when that news becomes old, it eventually becomes his story, history, which really does not give much solidity to the foundations of our reality. In other words, we only know what we've been told. And supposedly that known history only goes back about 6,000 or 7,000 years. And humans have probably been walking this planet for 1,000 times that long. Anyway, with that in mind, I'd like to relate a story to you that has to do with something that's always concerned me, and I'm sure many others. And that concern becomes more relevant as the season of our lives begins to fill with snow and sleet, frozen ponds, puddles, icicles. Imagine that a man, let's call him Charlie, he leaves his son, Tom. He leaves him off at an airport for a routine flight to the O'Hare Airport in Chicago one snowy December evening. He drives back home to the burbs and goes to bed that night and wakes up the next morning and sees on the morning news that the flight his son was supposed to be on had crashed and all aboard were lost. And Charlie goes into extreme grief and he sobs uncontrollably. His sinuses swell up so bad that his head is pounding and he can find no relief. His whole body goes into shock and his whole mind has been kidnapped. He's withdrawn and has become devoted to the memory of his son. Now within a day he looks as though he's aged 20 or 30 years. His skin's gray. He stumbles around and mutters to himself as if he had Alzheimer's or dementia. And to a person that did not know of the man's circumstances or the news about his son, Charlie would look sick. He'd look diseased, or diseased, I suppose. In fact, Charlie would be sick, so sick that his wife, who was dealing with this event also, and his friends would be afraid that his broken heart would be a real broken heart, and he just might die from a real broken heart. So suppose that Tom, his son, suddenly walks through the door wondering, hey, what's going on? And he says, well, he decided to take a later flight, dropped his phone in a puddle of slush out there outside the Cleveland airport, meant to call or get a replacement, but one thing led to another on his business trip, and well, here he is. Aside from being a little miffed at his son, Charlie would be jumping over the table, hugging him so hard he might crack one or two of Tom's ribs, and Charlie's whole body would be going through a resurrection. Headache forgotten, sinuses clear, skin normal, face and countenance just beaming. His whole perceived health completely turned around to the positive within instants, within minutes. Almost like a medical miracle or a biblical healing. Charlie's whole bout of illness, well, it was caused by his mind, powered by his emotions. And the cure was caused by his mind also. His dis-ease had all been manifested physically by the false conclusion that he had lost his son. The false perception that his mind had taken for the truth. Now, we all act on what we think of as the truth. Our minds can take that truth and can make us sick. Also can make us well, depending on what we are told is the truth and our belief in it. In many ways, we are all Charlie. This is Roger Simpson, clinical hypnotist at theflowcenter.com. You can call us for a free consultation at theflowcenter.com or at hypnosisoverthephone.com or at my private number, 214-699-6627. The truth is not out there. The truth is in here. And that truth is true, whether it's true, or is it true?